We all heard that age-old news that video games are bad for you. And they say things like this.
But did you also know that video games cause violence?
Or this.
And auto theft and Halo in these games? There's been plenty of research out there which shows a link between violent video games and aggression.
Violent video games increase aggressive behavior.
These video games, to me, are murder simulators, is what they are.
He was trained to kill with Call of Duty and other video games.
Then I think about it. With anything, I look at how many people are in the world. Well, recently we passed the 8 billion mark based on this statistical data. And of course, there's always going to be some conservative bigot who says that gaming is bad for you, is going to melt your brain. At least that's what I was told when I was a kid. I really thought they were wrong then. And yes, I was biased, but I still think they were wrong now, even when I know about my own biases. But then look at the data and then look at the games that I play and the games that other people play, and it makes me wonder. I don't want to use this video to prove right now that that isn't the case. I'm going to be using a bit of data and my own experience, but as with everything, there's always a probability of it becoming addicting. Anything that gives us a sense of accomplishment is going to produce a probability of addiction depending on your personality, your genes, and many other factors. But let's just dive in. I want to talk about video games. Why the hell do I still have this on? So we all know that gaming is a male-dominated industry. Most of these games are created through great marketers, great minds behind them that really hijack the brain in many ways. When it hijacks the brain, it's really hijacking your dopamine, just like social media and all these other entertaining tools that are out there. This is why we love to continuously binge TV shows, because they're giving us a dopamine rush. And so much so that we've never experienced this amount before. You know, I think the idea of jumping into a character who's extremely powerful, who has certain kinds of values that we hold, and who shows up in a game that's like, I want to be like him or her. And I think this is very attractive to men and occasionally some women. I mean, whatever makes us feel great, whatever garners the most attention, there's money involved. Companies and individuals are going to take advantage of that. There's not a lot of things that can do that. Well, nowadays there's a lot of things that can do that. But in your average day-to-day, if all of this was removed, all the entertaining, the phones, the computers, all this was removed, what would take place of that? Those dopamine rushes that we get to have every single day. You know, but I think gaming is one of the most potent when it comes to dopamine rush. And I feel it every time I play a specific game. See, our brains don't know the difference between accomplishing something in the virtual world versus the real world. I love gaming. I love my games. I've been playing since I was a kid, but this is where it tends to get dangerous. It's easy to get bogged down and sucked into a game. You ever had that experience where you're gaming and someone's trying to talk to you or ask you a question and you just completely either ignore them, don't hear them, or you just heard it wrong? So when you repeat it back to them, where you go do the thing, they say you did it wrong. Yeah, that's because it utilizes every function of your brain, especially when it comes to highly competitive games like Call of Duty or Fortnite or any of these other big one first-person shooters out there. While this can lead to a feeling of accomplishment, when you go back into the real world, you're just sad, depressed, angry. And this in turn makes you want to go back to the game, and so you can feel that sense of accomplishment again when you're gaming and you pass a certain level or you beat a certain boss that you've been having a hard time with. That's why people love those really tough games like Dark Souls and Elden Ring. You feel bad, so you go back to gaming, and then you go back to the real world, you feel bad, and then it's just a cycle that continues to repeat itself. I know that most of you probably watching this are not really addicted to the game. Maybe you play a few hours a week on the weekend, but you're not like sucked in like I was back in the day. Quick story on how I overcame my own addiction is that I've been gaming since I was a kid, when I got a Super Nintendo, and eventually when online gaming came into my life was with Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare, up until Call of Duty Black Ops 2. My average day would be wake up, go online, play a few matches, get ready, rush to my job, rush to school, rush home so that I can play games again. Sometimes I would skip entire meals. My job used to be across the street from where I live, so I would rush home during my lunch break to get a few matches in, just so that I can continue climbing this virtual leaderboard. And I knew I started becoming addicted because I stopped hanging out with friends. Rather go home than go out, hang out with friends, go out on dates, do all these things that you do as a young youth in your early 20s. And most of the time I'd stay up, break night, 24 hours, go to school in the morning, take naps in class, and then do it over again. And all I really cared about was becoming number one on the leaderboards and having one of the best kill death ratios in Call of Duty. And I missed a lot during that time. And even if I did go to an event or hang out with some friends, that's all that would be in my mind, is going back home to play Call of Duty. I would leave events earlier. I would leave family parties, birthday parties, things like that earlier, just so I can go back in game. And it controlled my life for many years. I had to change that, which leads me to a solution if you are having trouble with the whole virtual real world type of thing when it comes to gaming. And what I learned is that you have to do things with intention, not only gaming, but everything in your life. Ask yourself, why am I doing this? What am I playing this specific game for? Is it to hang out with some buddies online? Are my friends over and we're just playing together? Is it for the story? Is it for the characters? Is it just simply to pass the time because you have nothing else to do? Find that why. For me, and an example I can provide you is recently with the release of God of War Ragnarok, I wanted to play that game because I knew the first one had a deep story, it had a deep growth in characters, especially Kratos himself, and it led me to really think about my own relationship with my father and my own relationship with my future son and what that may look like and how I want to be and how I don't want to be. I know some of you guys are probably like, hey bro, it doesn't go that deep. Well, I look for those in stories. I'm a big reader. I love to find meaning in life. Jordan Peterson does talk about, we are meaning making machines. My personal journey of my own gaming addiction, not being addicted, but being able to still play for fun and to find stories and to how to relate it into my own life. And what I want to say is that I strongly encourage you, if you're very young, to completely remove gaming from your life for a little while. Do not get bogged down. When you're young, you have to utilize that energy and that time to build something, whether that's your skills, your careers, your education, something that's going to make you money, gather resources easier, and eventually you can bring gaming back. Nowadays, what I was told is that, oh, that's a waste of time and things. Now there's guys out there making millions of dollars from playing games, including girls like playing games and making a ton of money on it through streaming and things like that. So there was a way to make games. I don't think it's a waste of time anymore, and I'm pretty sure a lot of those uncles and family friends that said that when I was a kid kind of look stupid right now. My experience of removing it out of my life for 2 years, I had no gaming system. I just lived my life, built skills, met people, networked, did all those things, eventually got a gaming system again and decided that I will only play a few times a year depending on a specific game that came out, and that I would avoid all online games. And I'm a transformational coach, so we're going to talk about some life stuff here. This whole idea of being intentional is how you should do everything. Here's the honest truth for y'all. I still think you can get far in life. You can have a great job. You can have a wonderful family, still have time for all those things and fit gaming into your life. But if you want to be like one of the greats, whether that's like Michael Jordan, LeBron, all these famous YouTubers that you follow, Mr. Beast being one of them, Casey Neistat, I know that they're not gaming and they're going to get ahead. And you have to be okay with that. Be like, am I trying to just live an average life? I don't want to be big or anything like that in my industry. I just want to make a decent income, be very humble, and that's it. Hey man, to each their own. If you want to be those people, I think you can still fit gaming, but you got to be really good at time management and know that there's going to be times where you probably not play at all for months at a time because you'll be so busy. And that's what I do. I just game when a specific game comes out. For instance, Final Fantasy 16 came out. Once I found out the release date, I had planned that week specifically, and I told everyone around me, hey, I'm going to be unavailable between these dates because everything I do outside of like stuff I have to normally do in a day-to-day, like eat, go to the gym, put a little work in on like YouTube. The rest of the time, I'm probably going to be playing the game for at least a week, week and a half. And I did. I played the game. I beat it within a week and a half, and that was it. I just dropped it, and I haven't touched my PlayStation since. But that's just what works for me. What works for you? I'd love to hear it below. Are you addicted to gaming? Is that something you're trying to do less of so that you can focus on other aspects of your life? Have you ever been addicted, and did you overcome it? I would love to hear about that. Comment below and let's continue this discussion.